Combs abused, threatened, and coerced victims to fulfill his sexual desires.
Sean Diddy Combs couldn't hold back his tears in court while federal prosecutors pushed his defense team to reveal confidential information. The hip-hop icon's breakdown showed his vulnerable side. The mood in the courtroom became heavy as federal authorities demanded to see new evidence that hadn't been shared before. This moment marked the most important turning point in the legal proceedings against the music mogul. Everyone watched as Diddy struggled with his emotions. What really went down in court? In this video, we'll find out the details. Sit tight and watch till the very end. Inside Diddy's emotional courtroom breakdown. The Manhattan federal courtroom was like a tightly wound drum the day Sean Diddy Combs walked in. It wasn't the Diddy everyone was used to, the flashy, larger-than-life music mogul, dripping in designer suits and diamonds. This was a completely different version of him, one that caught everyone off guard. He wore a simple khaki jail-issued outfit, the kind that seemed to erase any trace of his usual swagger. He looked visibly thinner, almost frail, with his once jet-black beard now streaked with gray. Even his walk was slower, more deliberate, like the weight of everything he was facing had finally caught up to him. The room went silent for a moment as he entered, almost as if everyone there collectively held their breath. Tears streamed down Diddy's face in a courtroom moment that no one saw coming. Federal prosecutors are demanding access to secret information that could make or break his defense. But what is this information and why is it so crucial to the case? As the battle intensifies, the truth behind this legal drama is more shocking than anything you've heard before. Watch closely because the secrets revealed here could change everything you think you know about Diddy's life and career. Crime reporter Elizabeth Milner didn't hold back in describing the shock of it all. She said he looked astonishingly thinner, a major difference from his usual robust, commanding presence. Yet somehow, even in this humbling moment, Combs managed to maintain a certain grace. As he left the courtroom that day, he even wished everyone a happy holidays, which was so out of place yet deeply humanizing. It was like he was trying to hold on to a shred of normalcy amid the chaos. But the courtroom wasn't just filled with reporters and curious onlookers. His family showed up, and their presence added a layer of emotional intensity to the scene. His twin 17-year-old daughters, Jessie and Delilah, were seated in the second row, their faces a mix of worry and quiet support. Then there were his sons, who walked in with a certain resolve that seemed to mirror their father's own composure. At one point, Combs turned to them and gave a warm smile and a little wave, and there was this incredibly tender moment where he mouthed, "You okay?" to one of his sons. His son responded with a nod and a fist over his heart. In the midst of all this legal drama, those small gestures of love and connection stood out like tiny flickers of light in an otherwise dark situation. But let's not forget the gravity of why everyone was there. This wasn't just another celebrity court appearance with a slap on the wrist at the end. Combs is facing some of the most serious charges imaginable: racketeering, conspiracy, illegal sex trade, and prostitution. The kind of stuff that could land him behind bars for decades if he's found guilty. And the trial? It's already been set for May 5, 2025. Until then, he's stuck at the Metropolitan Detention Center, a place that's a far cry from his usual luxurious surroundings. One observer commented on just how stark that contrast really is, saying his entire lifestyle had been flipped on its head. And it's not just the charges themselves that are complicating things. The prosecution has been relentless in painting him as a serious threat. They've called him an extreme danger to the community, which is why his bail requests keep getting denied. They're also accusing him of trying to tamper with witnesses, claiming he's been attempting to corruptly influence testimonies through family members. That's a heavy accusation, and it's clearly adding another layer of difficulty for his legal team. Throughout the hearing, Combs stayed relatively composed, though those who followed his career closely noticed that he seemed more reserved than usual. Gone was the charismatic, bold figure who could light up a room with a single smile. Instead, he sat there, leaning in closely with his lawyers, going over documents and taking notes. It was clear he was fully engaged in his defense, but the spark that once defined him felt dimmed. And honestly, how could it not be? The stakes here are life-altering. Federal prosecutors' explosive demands. Federal prosecutors have been making these super bold and unprecedented moves in their push to get evidence disclosed. And what's really interesting is how this is stirring up all kinds of debates, like who's going to protect the witnesses and what's the game plan behind all these legal moves. Now, let's talk about the sheer mountain of evidence they're dealing with. It's not just a few files here and there. We're talking several terabytes of digital material. That's like the data equivalent of filling an entire library with documents. There are cell phones, laptops, tablets, you name it. Plus, they've got cloud accounts, financial records from banks, and even stuff like hotel bookings and airline tickets. Oh, and hard drives, like so many hard drives. I guess they've been seizing this stuff left and right from all these different locations. And honestly, doesn't it make you wonder, like, what exactly is buried in all that data? Are there smoking guns, or is it just a massive jigsaw puzzle they'll need forever to piece together? Prosecutors are also putting their foot down about revealing who their witnesses are, at least for now. Well, they're saying it's all about safety, like they're genuinely worried about witnesses and victims getting tampered with, intimidated, or worse. Can you blame them? When cases get this big, this public, and this heated, the stakes for those involved skyrocket. It makes you think about how much pressure are these witnesses under, knowing they're caught in the middle of such a high-profile case. And then there's the timeline. Prosecutors are trying to lay everything out in a way that sounds super organized. They're saying, okay, we're gonna start rolling out the evidence within the next 30 days. But it's not that simple. The sheer volume of data is so insane, they're estimating it could take days just to copy files from a single device. Days. Imagine how many devices there are to go through. It's like trying to clean out an attic that hasn't been touched in decades. Only, instead of old boxes, it's hard drives, and instead of dust, it's terabytes of potentially incriminating material. And let's not forget the big reveal. During raids on Combs' homes in Miami and Los Angeles, the feds seized over 96 electronic devices. It's like they walked into a tech store and walked out with the entire inventory. The evidence, the legal battles, the sheer drama of it all. It's like watching a thriller unfold in real life. But at the end of the day, it's hard not to wonder, like, how will it all play out? And what's the bigger story behind all this evidence and strategy? One thing's for sure, this case is shaping up to be one of those that people are going to talk about for a long, long time. All eyes were on Diddy as the courtroom tension reached a boiling point. Federal prosecutors demanded his defense team reveal sensitive, long-concealed secrets, leaving the music mogul visibly shaken and in tears. What are they trying to uncover? And why is Diddy so desperate to keep it hidden? This isn't just a legal battle, it's a high-stakes showdown with implications that could change everything. Stick around because the revelations in this case are nothing short of shocking. Defense team's strategic response Combs' legal team is pulling out all the stops. And honestly, it's like watching a high-stakes chess game unfold in real life. The team, led by Mark Agnifilo with seasoned attorneys like Tenny Geragos and Alexandra Shapiro by his side, is going all in to push back against federal charges. They've taken this very aggressive stance that's making waves both in court and outside of it. And really, wouldn't you expect nothing less from a team defending someone as high profile as Combs? Now, the way they're approaching this case is so layered, you can't help but sit up and take notice. At the heart of their defense is this laser sharp focus on Combs' constitutional rights. They're not just playing defense, they're on the offense, saying, hey, this man has every right to a fair trial and the ability to defend himself publicly. And when they put that in front of Judge Arun Subramanian, they weren't exactly mincing words, calling the prosecution's attempts to muzzle Combs an unconstitutional effort to silence him. Their defense is built on a few key pillars. First, they're doubling down on Combs' innocence, like not just saying he's innocent, but actively challenging every bit of the prosecution's narrative. They're picking apart how evidence has been characterized and pushing back hard on what they call racially motivated elements of the case. And honestly, you have to wonder, like, how much of a factor does someone's celebrity, wealth, or even their race play in cases like this? It's not like we haven't seen situations where those things become a whole subplot in themselves. But here's where it gets even more interesting. The counter demands. The team isn't just reacting, they're setting the agenda. They've asked the court to make the government identify every single alleged victim so they can properly prepare for trial. Makes sense, right? How can you defend yourself if you don't even know exactly who or what you're up against? They've also called for a hearing about leaks from the grand jury, like if confidential details are getting out, who's responsible for that? And then there's their push for a gag order on witnesses and their lawyers, which, let's be honest, is probably aimed at keeping this case from turning into even more of a media circus than it already is. And you know what? This case isn't just about what happens in the courtroom. Combs' team is playing on two fronts, legal and public opinion. Because let's face it, in a world where social media can make or break a person's reputation in a heartbeat, controlling the narrative is just as important as winning in court. Agnifilo even said, like, these are the acts of an innocent man with nothing to hide. That's a powerful statement, isn't it? It sets the tone for their whole strategy. They're framing these lawsuits, as I said, as attacks driven by financial motives, pointing out inconsistencies, and just generally flipping the script on the allegations. And the team itself, they're no strangers to high-profile cases. I mean, We're talking about people who've represented controversial figures like Keith Raniere from NXT. So it's clear they know how to navigate the tricky intersection of legal battles and public perception. But what's especially striking is how they're walking this fine line, standing firm against the prosecution's concerns about witness tampering while arguing that Combs' public statements are a matter of free speech. Combs' team is gearing up for a fight that's as much about the court of public opinion as it is about the actual courtroom. And really, isn't that what you'd expect when the stakes are this high? Family's presence and support. The Combs family is showing a kind of unity that most people can only dream of, standing shoulder to shoulder as they navigate some of the toughest challenges imaginable. Every time Sean Diddy Combs walks into that Manhattan federal courthouse, he knows his family is right there behind him, literally and figuratively. Now, let's talk about who's showing up, because it's not just a few distant cousins or old friends. Oh no, this is the inner circle, the heart of the Combs clan. You've got his kids, all 6 of them, showing up regularly. Quincy Brown, who's 33 and probably the most seasoned of the bunch. Justin Combs, the 30-year-old who shares his dad's love for sports and business. And then there's Christian, who's earned the nickname King and is only 26 but already making waves. Let's not forget the younger ones, Chance at 18 and the twins Delilah and Jesse, who are just 17 but still show up with the kind of maturity that would make any parent proud. And then there's Janice Combs, Diddy's mom, flying in all the way from Florida. What's even more touching is how vocal they've been about the whole ordeal. The kids released a collective statement, and you could feel the emotion behind their words. They said that the past month has devastated our family, and you can see how all of this affects Diddy. People who've been in the courtroom say his demeanor shifts the moment he sees his family. He waves, he smiles, he even mouths "you okay" to his kids from across the room. It's like he's drawing strength from them, isn't it? You can almost imagine how comforting it must be for him to know they're there, holding him up in ways only family can. Even the experts are chiming in. Public relations guru Eric Schiffer called this a cascade of emotions for the family and said they're going through one of the darkest periods of their lives. You can't help but feel for them, can you? But here's the thing that really gets to you. Their unity is more than just a show of love. It's also part of Diddy's defense. His legal team has made it a point to highlight his family's unwavering support, weaving it into their broader narrative. It's like they're saying, look at this man, he's got a family who believes in him, who knows his heart. And honestly, doesn't that make you think twice about all the noise surrounding the case? Through all the chaos, this family has stayed strong, and that's something you don't see every day. Even with the gravity of the charges hanging over them, they haven't wavered. They believe in Diddy's innocence, and that belief is palpable in everything they do. The courtroom fell silent as Diddy broke down in tears, overwhelmed by the federal prosecutor's demand to expose secret information in his defense. What's at stake here, and why is this information so closely guarded? This is more than just a legal battle. It's a high-stakes fight that could unravel decades of mystery. Stay tuned, because the twists in this courtroom saga will leave you on the edge of your seat. Behind the scenes legal maneuvers. The drama surrounding Sean Diddy Combs and his legal troubles is like a never-ending movie with twists and turns at every corner. Things took a serious turn when federal authorities decided to seize documents straight from his jail cell. Talk about bold moves, right? And of course, this stirred up a massive legal storm, especially since Diddy's team wasn't about to let that slide. They argued that snatching those documents wasn't just invasive, but a direct violation of attorney-client privilege. So here's where it gets even juicier. A federal judge ordered the prosecutors to hand over 19 pages of notes they'd taken. These weren't just any notes either. They included everything from legal strategies to personal calendars and even witness prep plans. Assistant U.S. Attorney Christy Slavic wasn't shy about her suspicions. She claimed these documents had evidence of Diddy's alleged plans to tamper with witnesses. She even said they hinted at things like paying off witnesses and digging up dirt on victims. But Diddy's defense team wasn't having any of it. They doubled down, saying these documents were sacred because they fell under attorney-client privilege. And get this, they even demanded surveillance footage of the cell search to see how it all went down. Now, Judge Arun Subramanian tried to play referee. He came up with a sort of middle ground. The court would keep the original documents safe. Both legal teams had to exchange briefs about what to do next, and the prosecution's so-called filter team could keep one copy. But here's the thing, no one else on the prosecution side was allowed to touch or even look at those copies. Sounds fair, right? Or at least as fair as it could be under these circumstances. But wait, there's more. The prosecution wasn't backing down. They had their own bag of tricks, and they weren't afraid to use them. They revealed they had all kinds of notes and recordings from Diddy's time in jail, and according to them, This evidence painted a picture of someone doing everything in his power to sway witnesses. One redacted document even mentioned a phone call between Diddy and one of his sons. The prosecution claimed this was part of an effort to blackmail victims and witnesses into either staying silent or testifying in his favor. Can you believe that? The government's argument was simple but powerful. They claimed Diddy was still a threat to witness safety. And honestly, if their allegations are true, you can kind of see where they're coming from. They said he tried to influence testimony through his family, which if true is pretty gutsy. The prosecution even managed to keep him from getting bail multiple times. Using all this alleged evidence against him, it's like a chess game where every move is carefully calculated, but the stakes are so much higher than just winning or losing a match. At the heart of it all, there's this tug of war between the defense and the prosecution. Diddy's team is fighting tooth and nail to protect his rights and argue that the government is overstepping. On the flip side, the prosecution is painting him as someone who will stop at nothing to save himself, even if it means crossing a few ethical lines. It's messy, it's complicated, and honestly, it feels like the kind of plot you'd expect to see in a Netflix drama, not real life. What's next? That's anyone's guess. But one thing's for sure, this case is far from over, and both sides are digging in for what promises to be a long, intense battle. And seriously, can you even imagine how much more chaotic things could get? With this, we have come to the end of this video. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, do well to like, comment, and subscribe for more content to enjoy more thrilling stories. Click now on the following video that pops up on your screen.